Hey, it's David Sherry. Let's talk today about how and why goals might not be working for you. Maybe you've seen other people go through these goal setting processes and they spend the end of the year and they go deep and they set these really clear goals for themselves. And you just feel like for some reason in your business that doesn't work. For some reason you set goals and yet you don't actually achieve them or you don't make that much progress towards achieving them. And that frustrates you because you wonder, well, why isn't this working for me? Now, I'm speaking as somebody who has helped dozens of founders and dozens of companies drastically accelerate their progress and growth. Oftentimes, when I'm working with a founder or a business, we are looking at how to double their business this year. We are looking at how to make massive change in their personal and professional lives. And I have seen many a stock entrepreneur see fast and rapid momentum by internalizing some of the principles that I'm going to talk with you about today. Now, when it comes to setting goals, one of the first things that we need to understand is that, and this is going to sound obvious, if you are not actually interested in your goals, if you're not actually committed to your goals, it is very unlikely that you're going to achieve them. Now, you might say, well, that's crazy. If I'm setting a goal, it's because it's something I want. However, it is very often the case that we set goals based on what we think we should want. We set goals based on what we think other people would do in our shoes. We set goals based on what we see other people doing, and we think, oh, I should want the same thing. I should want to be popular on social media. I should want to be popular on YouTube. I should want to build an AI focused company, whatever the thing might be. We go through this process of setting goals that we ourselves don't even want to achieve and that may be out of reach for our actual potential. So, a naive way to set goals is to set a very large target that isn't actually inherently something that you truly want. So, the first thing to look at if you're wondering why goal setting isn't working for you is to see if you can get really honest and aligned with, is this something that I'm truly wanting? Is this actually something that I'm truly wanting? And you might be surprised if you go through your list that you might not have that spark for something. You might not actually have that much of an interest. So get authentic so that you actually have real organic energy to work towards your goals. It's going to take a lot of effort to get whatever it is that you want. And so the only sustainable path in your business is setting a target that aligns with something that you truly want. So the more you can go through a process of eliminating fake goals, avoiding goals that aren't actually for you, avoiding goals that you don't actually have energy for, the more time and effort and energy you're going to be able to put on the goals that actually matter for you. Now, the next thing I want to talk about with goals is why goals aren't actually the end state. So when you set a goal, oftentimes that goal doesn't have very much information in it. Like, let's say you want to make $1 million. That is a target that doesn't really tell you that much. It doesn't tell you how, it doesn't tell you why, it doesn't tell you what it's going to look like when you make $1 million. It doesn't look like what you're going to spend the money on. So it's really easy to get trapped in vague, big goals. And because those goals are vague and big, it's harder for you to connect to them. It's harder for you to know what it is that you actually need to do. And you're just going to feel bad about yourself until you actually reach that point, which is kind of a recipe for disaster. You set this big target and then you're not going to be happy until you hit it, which could be years down the road, if at all. So how I like to think about it is I like to think about it through the lens of change. What changes do I need to make? What changes do I want to have in my life? How do I want to transform something in my life, in my business, in a part of my business, in my finances, in my relationships, in my health? What do I want to transform? By asking this question about change, we get closer to the idea of who do I want to become and also what do I need to do to actually go through this process of achieving some type of goal. So you can convert a big vague goal into a specific, meaningful, change-based goal by asking that question about what do I want to transform or how do I want to become this thing. So if you want to make $1 million, the question is, well, how do you want to do that? What type of person do you want to become? What changes will you make in your business or your life that are going to lead you to do that? And when you look at the changes you're going to make, now we're getting to something actionable. Now we're getting to something that you can actually implement. So you want to make $1 million. Well, what changes do you need to make? Well, I need to come up with a business model that can support making $1 million. I need to find a mentor who has achieved that so I can understand their mindset and what worked for them. I want to get really serious about my finances, my budget, my investing. Or maybe it's something like I want to find a real estate deal, do a few real estate deals to hit that goal. Now we could start asking the question, well, what are you actually doing? How are you changing? I'm becoming somebody who is more financially savvy. I'm becoming somebody who's around people who have that level of wealth. I'm becoming somebody who is working on a business that has a model that can actually fit for that. So the point here is, instead of setting a big, vague goal, transform that goal into the current changes that you want to make. And this is where habits come in. This is where systems, not goals, comes in. That whole category of things you've maybe heard of people talk about before. Well, this is why those things work, because they actually get you out of a big, vague, distant future that might not ever arrive and into the present. What can I change today? What new standards can I set for myself today? That's a great Tony Robbins question. What changes might I make to who I am? How do I need to grow to actually get to that outcome? So the goal isn't actually the end state. You need to go past the goal into what changes you can actually make today. So ask yourself about change. How might I change this part of my life? I will go from not having a partner to having a partner. I will go from not having a budget to having a budget. There's this sort of A to B dynamic you want to create, and you get to become someone along the way from the path of where you are today to where you're going. And that's also why people talk about the journey being the reward. It's about who you are becoming. So who are you becoming? How are you changing? What part of your life are you transforming? Those are the questions that are going to lead you farther in your business and farther in your personal life. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, you can leave them below. I'll be back again very soon. Later.